All right. Welcome, everyone. Before I start, I'm supposed to always check, is the live feed rolling? Yes, success. Right, well, first of all, thank you very much. I have got some announcements to make before I open the agenda formally. I just want to take a moment to say an absolutely massive thank you to Angela, all the trustees, the staff and the volunteers at Dunstan Activities Centre, because what a welcome. We've been so well looked after and it is just so fantastic. So please can we give them a massive round of applause and a thank you. And, you know, we said that we wanted to take Cabinet on the road so that we could showcase everything that's great about the region. And the people I've met here today are just brilliant. So a huge thank you. Anyway, on to the agenda proper for Cabinet today. First of all, it's apologies for absence. So I've got Councillor Alex Hay standing in for Karen Kilgour at Newcastle. We have got Emily, where are you? That's a big table. Emily, instead of John, as our business representative today. And we've also got Tony, instead of John, from Durham, as from the officer side. And then also, can I just take a moment in this item to welcome Joy Allen and Susan Dungworth, who are two police and crime commissioners for the region. We've recently made the decision to invite them to sit as observers to Cabinet, because we all know that the agendas are really interlinked. And so to make sure that we are a joined up region truly, it's really important to have them at the table. So thank you very much for your attendance. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Does anyone have anything to declare today? Good, just as we like it. And item 3 is announcements from myself and the Chief Executive. Henry, do you have anything you want to say?
Chair.
Okay, lovely. Well, it is great to be back around the table today. It does feel like 5 minutes since we were last here, and we are signing off some pretty landmark pieces of work that a lot of work has gone into, and that make a real difference to the lives of people in our region and communities right across the region. But before that, I just want to do a couple of quick updates on some of what I've been doing. Freshly back from a really productive week in the States, where I have spent a working week with 47 mayors from around the world talking about the same issues that we all face and that we're trying to tackle today. And despite the distance between us, there's a lot of crossover in what needs to happen, from opportunities for young people, tackling child poverty, looking at how we create interconnected and more reliable transport systems, making sure that people have the right skills to get great jobs. The most important thing about this was that we were exploring solutions, sharing ideas, and making sure that we're delivering change incredibly quickly across the region. It was organised by Bloomberg and Harvard, so it was a proper honour to take part. And while I was there, not wanting to miss the chance while somebody else had got us there, I met with some investors who were interested in groundbreaking opportunities that we have in the North East, including QTS Blackstone, about their investment in Camas in Northumberland, as well as others who are interested. There's limitless opportunity in this region, and for me, it was a real sign that people are more than interested in coming and investing here, and we'll be following up with all of those and hopefully bringing really good news about what it means for us. But now that we're back and we're very inspired, it's time to sign off 2 pieces of work that are real milestones to us. And I honestly think that we couldn't have picked a better place than Dunstan to bring our political decision-making out of the stuffy council offices and closer to the people they affect. I hope nobody minds us calling council offices stuffy, but like, we're all realistic, aren't we? We know where we work. On our last meeting, we spoke about the hard work that's gone into securing a record £1.85 billion to improve transport in our region. We talked about the fact that it is the single largest ever investment in the North East, and it means that the metro will be extended to Washington, the first new line in nearly 30 years. We've also got now the cash to restore in full the Tyne Bridge, which is great. And we weren't stopping there. And that's why it was brilliant to see further investment in the metro to replace the creaking signalling system that is now more than 40 years old. We were warned that it would become unusable if there wasn't a full upgrade, and that's why it is fantastic that after months and months, if not years of lobbying from so many people around this table and in this room, the government has committed the funding to do that. So that's a really big achievement for the region. I promised during the election that I'd secure the multi-millions of pounds that we needed for that investment, and so I'm really pleased now that Nexus can crack on and just get the job done, and get to a point where with new trains and a new signalling system, we will have the world-class system that the people of our region really deserve. And for those in the south of the region, it was great to see the upgrades to the A66 Trans-Northern Pennine scheme has also been given the go-ahead. It is a massive boost for County Durham and will connect up the Great North into Cumbria. But I think it's really important to say, just as we did last month, that we won't stop there. We'll keep pushing for more investment in our roads and in our transport network across the region, and this can only just be the start. While we're in Gateshead, it feels pertinent to talk about a brilliant visit that I had in Gateshead recently to Turntide. They have just made a massive investment into their factory, bringing 3 of their areas of business together and creating a new battery production area. And what is even better about this, you know, we talked about so many amazing things that they're doing there, and the idea that battery technology, which is pioneered in our region, and we can't forget that it always has been pioneered in our region, is becoming even more of a feature of our day-to-day lives. And they're putting batteries on so many of the recognisable vehicles that you'll see out there, such as JCBs and Caterpillars. Really exciting for those of us who are interested in motorsport, but also they work with McLaren. But for, you know, a proper North East person and a person with a lot of North East pride, the thing that stuck in my mind is that they're building the batteries. They've pioneered the technology for the batteries that will go onto new battery-powered chains that will be built at Hitachi and Newton Aycliffe. And that kind of shows the power of our region. So very shortly, every Zoomer that you're getting on, particularly if it's got batteries, you know, those components are now all made in our region. And what we build, where we build it, and who builds it really matters. We know that. We know the pride of the people that play a part in all of that. And it's a really important to me that in the North East, our proud industrial heritage continues on that path. It's reshaping it. It's making it fit for the future. But we are still a place with skilled, secure jobs in manufacturing. And that ultimately brings us, and that is ultimately what green energy, I think, also brings us. And on that theme of battery technology, I do feel like there's been a lot of divisive talk about net zero recently, when it's already providing for so many people in our region. And I've seen proof of that at Turntide and on the banks of the Tyne and on the banks of the Blythe. We are seeing billions of pounds investment from the sector in these new factories, creating thousands of jobs and thousands of training opportunities. And when I speak to investors, whether it's here or whether it's around the world, that is what they want because they know it is the future. I spoke to a classroom full of students earlier this month in Easington. And my word, kids are tough and they ask better questions than adults, I'm telling you that. But they asked what we are doing to tackle climate change. And so for me, the whole culture war of net zero is just playing politics with those children's futures. And if we don't continue towards a greener path, I'm sure that they will be the ones standing asking us why we didn't do more. So we can't cave to the division, and instead we have to act in the best interests of the kids who still have their whole lives ahead of them, their whole lives to ask those difficult questions and to become the ones who have to answer them in the future. Because let's face it, in the meantime, the North East is leading the way in this sector. We're already delivering jobs and opportunities. It means we're known for something positive all the way around the world, and I've seen proof of that. And it's important that we're leading the way, which is why I'm eager that today we get on with the job of signing off our new deal for North East workers and the North East Child Poverty Plan, because it'll shape the region for future generations. But we're going to talk more about those later. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Excellent. Can we move on to item 4, which is the minutes of the previous meeting? Is everybody happy with the minutes? Can we agree them?
Agreed.
Perfect. Item 5 is delivering the Mayor's local transport plan. It does feel like we don't get through, I nearly said a month, but a cabinet cycle without moving our transport ambitions forward, which is a really good thing. And today we're allocating some of the £1.85 billion that will transform the region's transport. So that includes 6.3 million to restore the iconic Tyne Bridge in time for the centenary, which is something I'm really excited that we've been able to do here in the region. And I'm so pleased that we've now secured that funding. And there was no way that anybody around this table was ever given up until we did. It would have been completely unacceptable to have the bridge not looking up to standard when we're celebrating that landmark for our region. So I'm thrilled that we have banged on enough doors collectively in Westminster to get it restored. And that finally brings us to the 5.9 million that will fully safeguard the Shields Ferry and mean that we can complete the North Shields Ferry landing. And that will be transformational for that part of the region and the economy in that area. We've all seen the headlines about rising construction costs, and we haven't been immune to that. So we've needed to put extra funding behind this to make sure that the beloved ferry is protected. It is just the most fantastic link between the Fish Quay at the heart of the Fish Quay, and it's now which is now a real hub of bars and creative spaces and restaurants, and South Shields with the market and the customs house just a stone's throw from the landing. I was down there just the other week, actually launching the New Deal for North East Workers and the Shine programme. And honestly, it was really buzzing on a lovely evening and quite a few people waiting for the ferry. So we know that this will drive economic growth, we know it will protect jobs, we know it will create new opportunities for both the Fish Quay and for South Shields Town Centre. And these upgrades are just part of the plans that will give the region the world-class transport network that we really deserve. And just a reminder for everyone, and I know I'm a bit like a broken record, but we are once again offering Kids Go Free all the way through the summer holidays, which will really help to get families out, so they can be tourists in the region, have great adventures, make memories, and enjoy a trip to the coast or the museums or somewhere out in the countryside, and do that in a more affordable fashion. So while I've made that plug and you're all planning your days out, I'm going to hand over to Martin for the in-depth report. If we can stick to the rules of not having titles and we'll just go by first names as a modern cabinet, I'm really happy with that. Thank you. Martin.
Okay, thank you, Kim. And you've left us absolutely nothing to say. The points, I mean, obviously, I was going to highlight the fact that the Mayor has secured the £1.85 billion, which makes many of these investments possible. Most of it you've already covered. There are effectively, I think, 5 highlights or recommendations to be approved today. £16 million have been invested in bus service improvement plan funding on services across the whole of the region. That is some of the concession, the reduced fares for young people and the reduced fares across the region, but also supported services. That £16 million, I would highlight, is only part of the nearly £100 million of funding that goes from the public sector to private bus operators in the northeast of England. Now 46% of income of the bus operators in the region comes from the public sector. Now, I think if we talk to our constituents across the region, we would, we would be told very vociferously that the level of service that the operators are providing is not satisfactory, which is, of course, why we're going to move ahead with re-regulating the services. And thankfully, that will be funded and supported through the £1.85 billion that the Mayor has secured to develop the Angel network. You've mentioned £6.3 million, which we've managed through the agreement of the Chancellor Exchequer and the Department of Transport to bring forward to secure the final funding for the Tyne Bridge. We are approving and endorsing today the £5.9 million of funding to conclude the work on the ferry landing. There's also delegated approval for replacing and continuing to maintain electricity charging points, electric vehicle charging points across 7 sites in the region. And the final point is to endorse, we've had it here before, the draft key route network, but it's to endorse, after extensive consultation, that key route network gives us as an authority the essential network across the region, the arterial routes, so that as we're developing further transport investment, it'll be prioritised into those areas. And with that, I would ask Cabinet to endorse those recommendations.
Brilliant, thank you. Are we happy to accept all of the recommendations? Oh, sorry, does anyone want to say anything? My apologies, I'm very sorry. Can we come to Karen and then to Alex? Getting ahead of myself.
I switched on. Oh, I'm on. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would just like to say I also welcome the 1.85 billion transport investment from government. So well done, congratulations for securing that. I'm delighted to receive the report and the recommendations to enable delivery of schemes set out in the local transport plan. The local transport plan reflects the North Tyneside transport priorities, including the need for improved connectivity in the northwest of our borough, but I'm particularly delighted today to welcome the significant investment of £5.9 million funding for the North Shields ferry landing, which is a really important element of our local infrastructure in the borough and, of course, a crucial link between the north and south of the river. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex?
Thank you, Kim. The local transport plan really does include much to celebrate, but it would be remiss of me as the representative from Newcastle not to mention how overjoyed we are to receive the additional funding needed to restore the Tyne Bridge in time for its centenary in 2028. Karen Kilgour and I are absolutely delighted to have a mayor and a government who recognise the significance of our iconic bridge and want to see it restored to its former glory. So just to place on record our thanks to all who supported us, lobbied government alongside Kim and colleagues at Newcastle and Gateshead councils for this investment. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Tracy?
Is it on? Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks very much, Kim. And really just following on from obviously colleagues across the table, I mean, I strongly support this investment. It's been absolutely crucial for this region. You know, we welcome the opportunity to see the North Shields ferry landing and obviously the metro links that we've got coming. This has been needed for such a long time, and the fact that we are now making progress is obviously a credit to the hard work that you've actually put in, Kim, but as a cabinet, as collectively we've worked together, but with you at the helm driving this agenda for us. So just have to say a huge well done. It's really important that we have this connectivity across the region so people from the region can actually access training, access jobs, access attractions right across the borough, and the connectivity will most definitely help us. So thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Any other comments? I mean, it's pretty clear to us, isn't it, that transport's about so much more than just getting from A to B. And we say it all the time, it's about the infrastructure of opportunity, and it is that direct link to the things that people need to be doing, whether it's work, whether it's training, whether it's school, whether it's just social activities, and being able to make that choice to travel by metro or bus or whatever. And that's why it is so crucial that we keep advancing our plans. That's why when we see an item for transport on every single cabinet agenda, actually I'm pretty overjoyed, because it means that we're moving forward all the time. And I'm pretty proud actually to be from a region where, you know what, we just won't shut up. And that has been the whole point with the metro extension, with the Tyne Bridge money, with the metro signalling, and all of the other lobbying that we've done collectively and separately to get what we need in place. We are a region that just won't shut up, and we've made sure that we've been listened to, and as a result, we're delivering. So long may it continue, and there's more to come. Now, can we accept the recommendations, please? Thank you very much. Okay, item 6 is another really big piece of work for us, the new deal for North East workers. What this really means is if you are looking to take your first steps into employment, or you're trying to switch careers, or you're learning new skills so you can climb the career ladder, it's there for you. We want young people to know that they don't have to leave this region and go to London for success. They can build the life they want to have here, they can achieve the success they want to have, and they can do it right here in the region. We want talented youngsters to know that there are many, many opportunities right here on their doorstep. And that's why in green energy, in the thriving cultural sector, or in factories like Husqvarna and Newton Aycliffe, where I recently had the pleasure of visiting, you know, that's where it's all thriving. One woman I spoke to when I was there, actually, she was extremely impressive. She had worked for Husqvarna for 45 years, and she had repeatedly through that time upskilled with training from them and outside to keep pace and keep going in a changing industry. And I think that's a real story of the way that people are in our region, naturally leaning towards always wanting to get on and to do a great job. And so we're putting tens of millions of pounds of new money into making sure that local people have got the right skills, the skills they need to compete in a changing labour market. And part of that will be getting our communities back into work too, because we know that a healthy society relies on people going to work. And yet far too many people in our region don't have a job or don't have the job that they want. So we're pretty determined that as a region we'll tackle that head on and fix it. But that is just one of the ways that we're supporting communities in the region. As part of the New Deal for North East workers, we've just launched Shine. This is a programme to inspire employers to make work a better place to be by paying a fair wage, by looking after your health and well-being, and by investing in training. And we have done this, we've pulled this together in consultation with employers, with trade unions, with people looking for work, with those in skills training, all the way around the region, and it has been extremely well received. And I have attended a couple of the kind of employer engagement events. One of them, which was in a really lovely bar in North Shields. I don't get to do meetings in bars very often. I think we should do it more often. But the reception for this and the desire to really showcase the great work that is already going on in the region and highlight best practice is really out there. We're pretty ambitious with this, and I'm really grateful to Tracy as the Cabinet Lead and to officers for getting us to this point so quickly. But we want to see 300 companies and organisations sign up this year, and we think that that will affect around 100,000 workers improving their terms and conditions in the region. So as I said, we're really, really ambitious, and we won't stop until the North East is the best place to work in the country. We know that that is achievable for us. So can I hand over to Tracy to lead us through the report, please? Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Kim. We are setting out to make the North East the home of real opportunity, a mission which will only succeed if everyone's experiences embraces the difference. This strategy is a key document for the region, setting out how we will deliver an integrated, innovative region employment and skills system equipped to accelerate inclusive economic growth and deliver better outcomes for all residents and businesses. I consider this strategy to be the catalyst to enable us to deliver our vision for a better region, setting out the employment and skills improvement of our residents, businesses and economic need to thrive. Creating a thriving economy that works for everyone, where no one is left behind and every individual can contribute to and benefit from our region's prosperity. New Deal for North East workers will not only underpin our 10-year local growth plan, creating real opportunity, but will also support and add value to existing and emerging national policy areas in relation to employment and skills, including the National Industrial Strategy, Skills England Priorities, and the Get Britain Working White Paper. The strategy has been built on a strong evidence base and consultation with a range of regional stakeholders with a role and interest in employment and skills in the North East. It sets out 4 ambitious strategic priorities. 1, to build a bigger, better skilled and more diverse workforce. 2, to create career pathways that enable employers to recruit and retain skilled staff. 3, targeted support to improve employment rates for all residents. And 4, tackling barriers that prevent residents getting into and on at work. In consultation with our partners, we will develop detailed action plans for each of the 4 priorities to drive forward delivery on the strategy. We aim to launch New Deal for North East workers in the autumn, and this will be followed by a high-profile regional campaign and support programme to develop and deliver the 4 priorities and strategic actions set out in the plan. Cabinet is recommended to endorse the Employment and Skills Strategy New Deal for North East Workers Plan for launch in the autumn, and subject to further consultation on the development of more detailed action plans for the 4 priority areas. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you very much. And as Cabinet will have got used to, and hopefully others are too, when we launch a consultation, we really mean it. We really mean a proper conversation. And so just in advance of that, I just want people to know that this is for you to take part in. You know, make sure that you have your views heard. Whether you are a person who's in work, working for one of the organisations that we want to see taking part, whether you work in FE or HE, it doesn't matter. We want this to be as broad a representation of the people of the region taking part in this as possible. So please do take part, and please do share the opportunity to do so, because These things will work better if they're shaped properly by the people of our region. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Nobody. A stunned cabinet into silence. That never happens. Well, Tracy, thank you very much for that, and we really appreciate it. Can we agree the recommendations? Thank you. Thank you very much. Lovely. So item 7 is something that is incredibly close to my heart, and I feel actually quite emotional that we've managed to get this here already and managed to get it here so quickly. This is our Child Poverty Reduction Action Plan 2025 to 2030. Before I start, can I just say a special thank you and pay tribute to some of those who are in the room and who I know are watching online. Obviously, every month we do have millions of viewers to our cabinet meetings. But today I do know that there are many who've taken part in the formation of this plan, tuning in to see this pass at cabinet online. And we've got Juliet, Steph and Beth in the room, all of whom have played a massive role. Juliet at Feeding Families, Steph at Love Amelia, and Beth as the chair of the North East Child Poverty Commission, in making sure that we get to this point. And I do think that, and so I just want to say thank you for attending, but more importantly than that, thank you for the role you've played in this and actually the role you play in making sure that we are taking that fight on child poverty on every single day. So this, I think, is probably one of the most important decisions that we certainly have ever made and we will make as an organisation. North East child poverty is shamefully high. It limits for the child, the family and the region. And there is already so much dedicated work going on, as we've just said, but the challenge before us is so great that I don't think that we've got any option but to go much, much further. And so today what we're presenting is a £28.6 million plan to redistribute regional wealth into the homes of those living in poverty. It is as simple as that. There's no other region doing this. Nobody else is making this kind of investment. We are turning this organisation into a body that is specifically focused on improving people's lives first and then providing business support. With the measures we announced today, we are beginning the process of rebuilding Sure Start-like services that once underpinned strong families in our region. And when we lost that support from too many parts of our region, entire neighbourhoods suffered, and we really, really saw the difference. I'll never forget driving round during my campaign, as you do, and you kind of cover a lot of ground listening to the radio as you go, and hearing on the news that children who grew up within a mile of a Sure Start centre did significantly better on their GCSEs. And I sort of heard an entire generation of people who have lived and worked in that environment just go, "Oh, you don't say." Well, that's the reason that we're restoring services like this. We will not be able to reverse all of that impact with this investment. We can't end child poverty in the North East this year or even next year. I don't think that I'll be able to stand up in 2028 and say we've ended child poverty, but we have to begin this change, a long-term change for the many families that really, really need this and really deserve it. The plan covers every single step from before the cradle till after the start of a career. We're looking at everything from baby boxes, reduced bus fares, skills boot camps, rebuilding the infrastructure and opportunity in the North East. And there's one area that I really do want to build, one thing I really want to draw our attention to, and that's the test and learn pilots that you'll see as part of this plan. The North East, as far as I'm concerned, can be ground zero for beating poverty. We are going to show the government and the policies ministers should be implementing nationwide to change lives. We want this to be a blueprint for government and for other regions in this country. We know that this test and learn approach works. When I was Police and Crime Commissioner before Susan, we followed this method and we were the first to put domestic abuse specialists in 999 call centres. It cost us money at the start, but we showed that it worked. And now it's being rolled out nationally. It is now national policy, and we know that it saves the system money in the future. And so that's what we're going to do with these child poverty measures. And I just want to pick up a couple of the pilots that we'll be running. The first is crucial. It's really simple. It's money, grants to pregnant mums who are on universal credit. And the plan has got a lot of long-term strategies that will produce a support network, but the truth is that sometimes the simplest way to end poverty is to give money to parents who just don't have enough money, while at the same time trying to help them to get a good job so they can thrive on their own. So that's what we'll do. So for trial periods, we will work with those mothers about to give birth and make sure that they have what they need to welcome a baby into the world. Sometimes the simplest solutions are just the most effective ones. And I think we're really talking about life-changing starts for those that need it the most. The other test and learn pilot that I'll talk about today is support for youth facilities, something that many of you will have probably heard me bang on about for years. Austerity absolutely decimated youth services in the North East. And again, I saw this firsthand in my previous job and as a cabinet member on Newcastle City Council. This doesn't just lead to short-term problems of kids with nowhere to go. And I did, and I know Susan is, and I know Joy is, investing money into support for youth services because we know that it has a positive impact on preventing crime. But we also know that those things are about creating opportunity. And while some kids are getting after-school tuition and access to organised sport where their parents can afford it, there are too many kids who just don't get that additional support. And so we want to level the playing field here. Low-cost or free activities, particularly those that teach new skills, will be at the heart of these plans. Now, for some people, they'll probably criticise this, and I don't really care. They'll say that we should just focus on supporting businesses, or that we'll never have enough money to make a difference, or even that we'll damage the region's image just talking about this issue. But if you are living in hardship now, in a flat with no carpets and no nappies and no books, that criticism is completely meaningless to your life. And we are going to create opportunity, household by household, across the North East. And I'm really proud to bring this paper to Cabinet. Because you know what it is? We talk a lot about raising aspirations. We hear a lot of talk about that all the time. But every single child, whether you live behind the poorest front door in the region or one of the wealthiest, has aspiration. This is about making sure that you have what you need to achieve it. So I'll hand over to Tracy to take us through the depth of the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kim. And I would like to second and firmly support Mayor McGuinness's comments about the vital importance of tackling child poverty across the North East and praise her leadership in driving this crucial work forward. While many of the levers which could improve families' finances sits in Westminster, there is a shared motivation across the region to coordinate the capabilities and resources we have to make a real change that improves the lives of children growing up in the North East. If we are to achieve a North East where opportunity is for all, it is a moral imperative that we take action. This report brings forward an action plan which addresses the issues, which are extensive grassroots, local and regional engagement was highlighted as common challenges and priorities. They include maximising incomes for families now, collectively investing in giving babies, children and young people the best start in life, and tackling long-term challenges to help make work pay, such as through the fantastic SHINE programme. The plan has been co-developed by regional partners and North East families and young people, driven by our Child Poverty Reduction Unit, extending across portfolios and policy areas, and it is deeply rooted in data and in evidence. And I would like to thank all of those partners for their input and their ongoing work. All the activities within the plan will be delivered in partnership based on local strengths and needs. I am proud to represent a borough that is tackling the issue of child poverty head-on, and proud to be the combined authority portfolio holder for this ambition, working with yourself, Kim, to make a real difference to the lives of our young people. This document does just that. I would therefore recommend that Cabinet agree the action plan as a key strategic plan for our region, and more importantly, endorse the investment that would deliver for our children, families and communities across the whole of the North East, making it a home of real opportunity. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Tracy. And I think that reference to the sheer number of people who've been involved in consultation for this plan, you'll see in the report that we convened 300 people last autumn You literally couldn't get them in the room at the Foundation of Light in Sunderland to talk about what the scale of the issue was and the incredible work that's already taking place across our region. And none of this is designed to step on that. It's all designed to add more and more and more. And then the data and evidence that we've used provided by the North East Child Poverty Commission and others to make sure that these are the right interventions as well. Can I take questions or comments on this item? Michael?
Thanks, Kim. I fully endorse this report. I think it's an absolutely brilliant piece of work that's been led by yourself, one of your Merrill manifesto commitments, and Tracy at South Tyneside. But what's really impressed me is following that brilliant event at the Foundation of Light in Sunderland, the sheer amount of people from across the region who've rolled the sleeves up, got stuck in and helping. If you look at the report, I think 3 pages of the tiniest writing lists everyone who's been involved. Because for me, we can open metro lines, we can build shiny new buildings, but this work will improve the lives of people and children right across our region. As someone who grew up in poverty, I understood the benefit. I was benefited so much from the last Labour government. That support has fell off a cliff over the last 14 years. And it's incumbent on us now as leaders in the region to start putting them building blocks back. This is a significant down payment, and exactly like you said, Kim, this is not going to change in a year, 18 months, or even one term. But this is a significant step forward to help some of the poorest children in our regions. I just want to place on record my thanks and appreciation to everyone for this work, and hopefully in 10, 15 years' time, the metrics that's on there, 32% of children after housing costs living in Sunderland are in poverty. That will be significantly down. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Karen?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I too really welcome this report and the significant investment, 28 million, to reduce child poverty across the region. The plan aligns very closely with our priorities in North Tyneside, and tackling poverty is an issue very close to my heart, something I've been working on for nearly 40 years. So there is no overnight answer. We know it's complicated, but we have to be ambitious. So I really welcome that ambition, and we have to try and work together to tackle this issue. I look forward to working closely with the Mayor, with the Poverty Reduction Unit, with all our partners in supporting delivery of the plan going forward. And I would just like to say a huge thank you to the Mayor, to everybody who's been involved in this area of work and getting this paper to Cabinet today, because, you know, it's been a significant amount of work and great progress in a relatively short space of time. So fantastic and well done, everyone.
Thanks, Karen. Martin?
Yeah, thanks, Kim. As has been said, the plan was developed in wide consultation across the region and with the voluntary community sector. It also drew, as you said, Kim, and Tracy mentioned too, on the work of the North East Child Poverty Commission, which has done such a good job at looking at the issue and is a part of the sector that the region should be especially proud of, amongst many others. The voluntary community sector will play an important part in delivering the plan and is ready to do all it can to contribute, and welcomes it wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Alex?
Thank you, Kim. Karen and I back this bold plan to tackle child poverty head-on wholeheartedly. We want to commend your leadership, Kim, in driving this agenda forward, and we're ready to work with you, Cabinet colleagues, the Combined Authority and the Labour Government to deliver real, lasting change for our children and to confront inequality at its roots. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Are off.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, right, sorry. I've broken the first rule in speaking. I promised my head of staff I wouldn't, but so I just want to thank you, Kim, not just for this report, but for the previous two as well. Coming from the Police and Crime Commissioner's perspective, we know that poverty, worklessness, homelessness and lack of access to training and jobs play a huge part in increased crime levels. And I'm looking forward to working with your office to look at how we can help particularly young people, but I think also women within our region to rise out of that poverty, to have employment, to have a roof over their heads. and therefore play a bigger part in our society. So thank you for this, and thank you for letting me speak.
You're very welcome.
Take more than a microphone turned off.
Well, that's it. Andrew.
Yes, it's on. Yeah, I don't trust that. I want to see the red light. No, only joking. Yeah, I mean, really just to underpin what you're saying, I don't know if everyone's aware, but last week in County Durham, we declared a care emergency across the county, and it was obviously built from the sheer amount of resources that care is taking up in terms of our budget, but also the shortfall in resources to actually tackle the problem. Everything from, I mean, we talk about raising aspirations, we talk about antisocial behaviour, you know, all the kind of obvious things, but then the elements that you don't see are the lack of the SEND provisions and the care services for these kids and families, you know, kinship support, lobbying to try and get more, or any kinship allowance to try and take the strain off the system. So yeah, I just kind of want to echo everyone else's thoughts around the room to let you know we're on board with this massively.
Well, thank you. Are there any other final contributions? No? Brilliant. Well, like Michael, you know, I grew up in a household that didn't have enough, and it's direct intervention by policy and decision makers, you know, back then a Labour government that made decisions that I think really helped us to get on, and so that's what we're doing as a cabinet. Cross-party, doubling down and saying that, you know, it isn't good enough for kids in our region to not have what they need, and that everyone deserves access to that opportunity. So I'm very proud of where we are today. Before I ask us to agree the recommendations, it's not usually the done thing to do this, but I think in this situation it's crucial. We often thank officers, but can I give a real specific mention to Amanda Bailey, to Joanna Unthank, to Adrian Doherty, Charlotte Carpenter, her team, and everybody else, and I know it is a big old team across the Combined Authority who have really, really put in a shift on this, and I think that's an understatement. So a huge thank you from me to them and from whole of Cabinet to them for everything you've done to get us to this point. So with that, can we agree the recommendations? Thank you very much. I'm not done. Mic drop. Thanks. Thank you. So we don't usually get a round of applause. So budget update 24-25 outturn and 25-26 budget reporting update. Now I am often in trouble for making a quip about how the budget papers are not that interesting, so I'm not going to follow in that vein today. But instead, I am just going to say that, you know, this at the minute is a pretty tricky time to be managing the budgets for this organisation. We're still harking back to the North of Tyne and the North East Combined Authority as was, 2 organisations, and also all of the 5 organisations that came in to make one. We've got this year's accounts, and we're preparing for a single settlement. So it is no mean feat. And with that, I'll hand over to Mags to say what we need to do next and what we need to agree to move us on. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. The report summarises the unaudited financial results for the period for the North East Combined Authority's first financial period as a new organisation. So that covers a period from 7th of May 2024 to the first statutory reporting date of 31st of March 25. The paper also sets out the initial budget position for 25-26 and how we will report against that to Cabinet over the course of the year. Lastly, the report confirms that we have operated in accordance with our approved Treasury management policy and the budget that we set for Treasury management activities. I'll make some brief comments on both the Combined Authority running cost outturn and on programme delivery outturn. Coming first to running costs, as indicated to Cabinet in March, the running cost budget shows a surplus. Performance against it shows a surplus. That arose mainly from vacancies in our staffing structure. That was a very deliberate decision to retain some vacancies while the senior team was recruited, and over the period of giving us the opportunity to look at the teams underneath each of the SLT members. That review has now completed, and we have moved to recruitment phase. There was a saving of £1.5 million against interest costs due to early repayment of some borrowing, and again, as Cabinet will be aware, significant interest income was earned against our cash balances. That was about 20 million over the year. Of that, 11 has been transferred to earmark reserves and the remainder into unrestricted reserves available to fund expenditure in future years. In terms of programme delivery, the forecast we reported to Cabinet in March was 408 million for the period, against an actual outturn of 340 million. None of that funding has been forfeited. That will be rephased into future years for programme delivery. Most of the variance against forecast relates to transport capital programmes, which reflects the slow rate of progress in development of some bus and active travel infrastructure schemes. We are discussing that with local authorities, scheme promoters and the Department of Transport with the aim of reprofiling that scheme expenditure where possible. The report also covers the unaudited results of Nexus for the period from April 2024 to March 25, which, as you'll know, are consolidated into our group accounts. The Nexus results show a deficit of 3 million against a planned deficit of just under 5. Full details of the results, including variances to budget, are provided in Appendix 2. Looking ahead to 25-26, the report sets out the initial budget for the combined authorities' running cost budgets. That's absolutely in line with the budget presented to Cabinet in March, with the change that we've used some plainer language to describe what the expenditure categories actually mean, and we've separated out the part of our budget that relates to transport delivery, again for clarity between what is delivery and what's running costs. In terms of programme budget for 25-26, we are planning 576 million spend on programme delivery. We'll report that progress to both Finance and Investment Board and Cabinet through our quarterly performance pack. The report also sets out some further reporting dates, including those related to the 26-27 budget setting, which, as Kim referred to, will be the first financial year in which we are under integrated settlement. And again, we'll be reporting back to Cabinet over the course of the remainder of this year in terms of what that means, both in terms of how we are funded, but how much we are funded for the 3 years from April 2026. Very final comment, we've also set out the timetable for presenting the audited statutory accounts to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mags. Any questions or comments at all on that? Okay, the recommendations here, it's just the report is just for noting. So can we note the report? Brilliant. Thank you. Item 9 is the Centre for Writing, the National Centre for Writing. So now we're moving on to exciting plans for investment in our new National Centre for Writing, and so it can develop its own space in the region. We, as a Cabinet and as an organisation, are investing £2 million to get that building up and running and tailored to the needs of local creatives. And it's more important than ever that we invest in our own region, because if we're being frank, there's not enough national money coming our way, particularly from the Arts Council. We do seem to have been a bit forgotten up here. Last week, people will have seen a report from the think tank IPPR that revealed that arts and culture funding has a gap between the North and London of £450 million. It's just absolutely shocking that this is still happening in this day and age. And it just makes the case even more clearly why I think we need to have more control over cultural funding decisions. And so I'm going to renew my call. Can we just devolve the Arts Council spending and get on with it so that we can make those decisions in the region? If we don't, the only alternative seems to be that the Great North misses out. And how many more generations have to live in a system that's just not working for us? And we're not going to sit back in the meantime. We're making our own decisions and investing cash like this in the new Centre for Writing. For too long, publishing has been based in the south, and as a result has a direct positive impact on southern writers. But this new facility will create a northern hub for northern writers, and it is supporting our homegrown talent, and it is just calling out, and it's supporting that homegrown talent, and it's making sure that they have access to opportunities, because the industry is calling out for their talent. Because we know that there's nobody better to tell our northern story than northern people themselves. There's some amazing examples in the region and beyond across the north, but I do think that there's ever so many more stories to come out of this place. So Alex, I'll hand over to you to present the report.
Thank you, Kim. I'm pleased to introduce this ambitious project to Cabinet. The proposed £2 million investment to create a national centre for writing in Newcastle marks a bold step forward for the creative industries in our region. This centre will be a hub for creativity, culture and opportunity. It will be a place where writers of all backgrounds can discover, develop and launch their careers. It will attract national publishing companies to the North East and help establish our region as a major force in the UK's literacy and creative economy. It's anticipated that the centre, to be located in the centre of Newcastle, will be operated as a joint venture between New Writing North and Northumbria University, and this joint venture will purchase, own and operate the building that will host the Centre for Writing. The business model underpinning the project seeks to enable sustainability through a mixed approach to income and through delivering a wide range of benefits for local people and place. This report asks Cabinet to approve a £2 million from the North East Investment Fund to support the acquisition and redevelopment of a city centre site for the centre. And this investment will sit alongside wider funding from DCMS, Newcastle City Council and Northumbria University. But I think it's important, as I draw to a close, to highlight that this is more than just a building. It's about growing jobs, attracting investment and giving people of all ages new pathways into the creative industries. It's about telling our stories and ensuring the North East has a strong voice in the UK's cultural future. Over. Thank you.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. And New Writing North are proper stars in all of this, making sure that there is that access to the skills training, the development, the courses that people need to get into writing. And it's really rare, actually, that we see a project like this. It needs to become more common, where we get that kind of mixed approach of funding from an organisation run locally, from university, from grant funding, from us, from central government, from the publishing sector. The list goes on, and that will provide security for years to come. Can I take any questions or comments? Yes, Martin.
It would be remiss of me not to stress that New Writing North is a part of the community voluntary sector being a charity, so I very much wholeheartedly welcome this as well. It's good news. And kudos to them. Thank you.
Absolutely. Can we agree the recommendations, in which case? Thank you. Item 10 is the North East Spatial Development Strategy. So this is our joined-up approach to getting what we need to go where and where it needs to go, for want of a better way of putting it. And I think at this point, I just really want to highlight before I hand over to Councillor Husbands that we as a region have come from a place where we wouldn't have even been able to have this conversation as a group of local authorities about, a joined-up regional spatial strategy. It's something that, it's probably been needed for a long time, but it's been incredibly difficult. And now we have one of the most ambitious timelines for a plan anywhere in the country, and we're really hoping to see this plan come to completion within 12 months. That will put us ahead of the game nationally. And what I hope will follow with that is money from central government to help satisfy our development goals around more housing, particularly more social housing, but also it will help the development sector to get on and make the investments that they need to make in our region as well. So in advance of this, thank you very much to members of Cabinet for the way in which you're approaching it, and I'll hand over to Andrew to take us through the report.
Thank you, Kim. Last but not least. Our North East, we are proud to call home portfolio. It seeks to develop approaches that will deliver housing, infrastructure and support regional growth. By unlocking growth in locations that best serve both our future ambitions and our communities, we will maximise social and economic impacts and deliver real opportunity for our residents, businesses and partners. Having a spatial development strategy is a key priority for our second year and a Mayoral Manifesto commitment. It will achieve these objectives by mapping out and agreeing spatial development priorities, infrastructure requirements and building on the local growth plan. Once endorsed by a government inspector, we expect that the strategy will unlock significant government funding and private investment. Why do we need a spatial development strategy? The need for a spatial development strategy is driven, in part, by the devolution agenda. To go early and be one of the first regions to have a strategy is advantageous, as it will send a clear signal to investors and government that the region is open for business and focused on growth. Looking ahead over the next 30 years, the strategy will bolster the local plans and reinforce the planning decisions of our local planning authorities. It will build consensus and a shared vision, ensuring the right types of development go in the right places, with support of our communities to support growth. The approach. Effective collaboration will be essential when producing the strategy. It will become part of the development plan for each of our local authorities. By working with our local authority heads of planning, an approach has been devised that considers the work needed and draft timescales required across the region. Details of the approach are set out within the report, and it is currently estimated that a draft SDS could be produced by late 2027, with adoption the following year. This is an ambitious timetable, but it is possible with close collaboration between the combined authority, local authorities, communities, and businesses. Next steps. The development of the strategy will require dedicated resource and capacity, both centrally and within local planning teams, to ensure an effective and collaborative approach. A project budget of up to 1.5 million is proposed from the investment fund to provide this capacity and to produce the joint evidence commissions that are needed. The government has confirmed to the combined authority that some revenue resources available to support this work and have welcomed the opportunity to work with us. Opportunities for any bids or awards or government funding to support this work will be explored as and when they present themselves, to reduce the call on the investment fund. Subject to general agreement of the approach set out in the report, the immediate next step would involve establishing a core team that will work together with local authorities, heads of planning, to develop and progress this work. Regular updates will be provided on progress to Cabinet. So, Cabinet, as you've heard, the creation of a spatial development strategy will contribute directly to progressing the Mayor's and Cabinet's priorities to support integrated place-based growth. We have an opportunity for the region to position itself ahead of all of the regions, and in doing so, become one of the most attractive places in which to invest. As such, I recommend Cabinet approves this paper. Thank you.
Brilliant. Any questions or comments? Susan.
Thank you. We all know that not feeling safe is one of the reasons that people don't use our community spaces. And so I suppose a plea from my side is that we look to how we design out crime, how we make places as safe as possible for people to be involved.
Thank you. Martin.
Just wanted to say that I think it's really important that we communicate the message from here that, that planning decisions will still be made at a local level. Each individual local authority will have its local plans, and representations from local people will still be made to their planning authorities, and there'll be local councillors as close as possible to people. This issue, and I think it's incredibly important, is about ensuring that we are strategic and coordinate across the region. Many of us have been involved in local government in this room for many years, and we know that when individual authorities have developed their development plans in the past, of course, all of us have looked towards our own parochial best interests. Sometimes that conflicts with neighbouring authorities, and therefore, despite the fact there was a duty to consult, we had far too many housing numbers in previous local plans. Having a strategic view is incredibly important. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Brilliant. Can we agree the recommendations? Excellent. Thank you. That takes us to the end of the formal agenda. Before I close, I do just want to give a mention to the young people that you'll see in the gallery today. A huge thank you to you for joining. They are doing some shadowing at the Combined Authority and learning a little bit about how we do our business and what we do and how it all works. And I'm hoping that they'll share their ideas with us on how to make the region a better place. So thank you very much for your time and for spending this afternoon with us. We hope you found it interesting. The date and time of the next meeting is the 23rd of September at 2 p.m. We'll be in Newcastle next as we continue our tour around the region. Location yet to be decided, but I'm absolutely confident it'll be just as exciting as this. Thank you.